Welcome into Action Island, presented by FanDuel. Fun crew this week. Tim Kalinowski, Mike Calabrese, Brian Matthews. I'm Megan Payton. We're talking Sunday night football, the game of the week, Dolphins, Eagles. I don't know why the Eagles are favored here. I've been going on and on about this all day. We'll get your thoughts on this. If you're new to Action Island, fun game show style, it's the place to be for parlays. We got to shut out the Thursday night crew. It's just one Olave touchdown away from a hit on a major parlay. Yet our boy Nick Giffen, he actually ended up hitting his alternate parlay with that Michael Thomas touchdown. Look, we're going to get you a winning parlay. We're going to try to get you a winning parlay for Sunday night football. This is all about this Dolphins offense that's been succeeding. This Eagles team that's really feeling like, hey, they're showing us that they are not pretenders. They are back for another year. Action Island is presented by FanDuel. At the end of this, you'll be able to make the parlay on FanDuel. You can get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you bet $5. Plus, it's a new thing going on here. Get 3 months of the NBA League Pass on them. This is for new users in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. If you're new here, here's how it's going to work. It's going to be a 3-leg parlay, but Tim, Mike, and Brian, they're going to present 2 different bets, and then we're going to vote on them, so we just end up with one each. I'll give a bonus bet. As always, you can mix and match, though. Make your own parlay, make it bigger, make it shorter, however you want to do it. Tim's going to start us off. What are the 2 bets you're looking at for the first leg?
Yeah, well, I'm going to start with Taylor Swift. DeAndre Swift over 3.5 receptions. This starts with, he's had a steady increase in targets over the past 4 weeks, 2, 4, 6, and 9. And I think Philly knows that they got to chew clock in this game, keep that Miami offense off the field. And sometimes a little dump off is just as good as establishing the ground game via the traditional handoff. Miami also grades top 5 in PFF pass rush. So Swift, he sees almost all of his targets within 6 or 9 yards or less. So I feel like, hey, they got to keep that prolific offense off of the field. And even if the game script goes the other way and Philly has to pass, well, Swift's open.
I mean, if someone would have told you preseason DeAndre Swift would be the talk of the Eagles offense, you'd probably start laughing. But he's been consistently good in those targets in the receiving game. They've been going up. He's been a huge spark. He's gone all over this number the last 2 games. I like where you're headed with the other Swift, that is. I expected a drawing from you, Tim. You had a little competition in yesterday's show. What else are you looking at for the first leg?
I'm still the best artist on the show, Megan. Maybe not the best picker, but the best artist.
The best art. That's all that matters, Tim. Know your talents.
Exactly. And so I'm looking here, Tyreek Hill over 6.5 receptions. Look, I'm skeptical of how well Miami can run against this Philly D, or even how interested they are against running against this Philly D, because the weakness in Philly's defense is their secondary, especially with Roby out, Blankenship out. They rank 20th in opposing yards per game, 29th in opposing pass attempts per game. And also, I was seeking outside counsel here. Our guy, prop bet guy, he logged into the Action app Hill over 6.5 receptions. I logged it as well. I'll let you figure out who logged it first.
Ooh, throwing a little spice, Tim. I like your look, though, with both of these props being a reception prop. Tyreek Hill is on another level this year. He's been insane. He's had over 100 receiving yards in 4 games already. Hasn't gone over the 6 mark a ton, 6.5 mark, but I do think against this Eagles team, we're going to be seeing Tyreek maybe in those shorter game styles, shorter pass styles involved a lot more. All right, Mike, Brian, 2 options here. It's DeAndre Swift over 3.5 receptions, or it's Tyreek Hill, the cheetah, over 6.5 receptions. I wonder if we'll get some sort of animal drawing in this one. Alrighty, let's get to voting. 3, 2, 1. Where are we going? I know I'm not an artist, so I didn't draw the cheetah. If only, Tim, you were voting on this. Tyreek, and Brian says Swift. Sorry, Matthews. We're voting that one off, sticking with Tyreek Hill. Here's the thing. The Eagles are 23rd in pass defense. Tua's going to connect with his guy, which is Tyreek Hill. He's going to be involved so much. And I really think 6.5 is a good line. Mike, why did you like him over DeAndre Swift?
Yeah, I agree with your assessment in terms of how McDaniels likes to use him in the short passing game, where you're going to see him put him in motion and try to switch off for man-to-man coverage and really put those, players, whether it's a slot corner or a boundary corner, in those difficult situations where you have to cut off one route and not the other. I think you can get some cheapies there, and that's why I like Tyreek to go over 6.5.
I like it too. And I really did like DeAndre Swift. I kind of went back and forth on this one. So Brian, I don't hate where you were looking, but tell me your perspective on why you liked Swift over Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, so when I look at this game, I think, Philly struggled on offense. Look, they did lose to the Jets. I know that we're talking about, this team still has weapons all over the board. And one of the things too, we might get high wins in this game, right? So Tim talked about it, like having 4, 6, I think 4, 6, and 9 or 10 targets. Obviously he's becoming more relied upon as a part of that offense, and you do want to bleed clock a little bit. But if worst case scenario happens, we get bad weather game, then Swift can hit the checkdowns all day. We don't have to worry about a deep ball being interfered or by a screen pass being interfered by wind, more often than not. So I also do love Tyreek Hill, though. He's going to be potentially a leg that I talk about later. So I was kind of trying to balance the scales here, but you guys win.
Hey, a little foreshadowing. The bad weather perspective is good too, because it actually helps with both, whether you're looking at Tyreek Hill or DeAndre Swift. It just points to that, fading of the deep ball and just getting involved in that short area passing. Tyreek Hill over 6.5 receptions. He's gone over this 3 times this season. I like him to do it again against an Eagles pass defense. That is the first leg. Brees, welcome into Action Island. Our first time working together on this show. Present your bets of what you're looking at for the second leg.
So the producers came to me. They're like, would you like to be a part of this? Theme dressing, billing parlays. Don't threaten me with time. I'm in. All right. Anytime touchdown, -130 for Jalen Hurts in this spot. The tush push, the brotherly shove. If they get inside the 3-yard line, it's going to him, because the Eagles do not have that bell cow back that they like to use at the goal line, where a lot of teams you have to compete there and really get to the 1-yard line for a quarterback sneak to come into play. I really like this. And when you look at the comps for who Miami's faced this year, Justin Herbert, rushing touchdown, Josh Allen, rushing touchdown. So I think in this spot, when you look at Jalen Hurts having scored 4 out of his 6 games, a rushing touchdown, let's just keep the good times rolling here in a game where I do believe that they need him to be effective with his legs, and why move away from the most effective play in sports.
How can we fade the brotherly shove? It's been so fun to watch the tush push. And by the way, I'm going off topic here, because keep the tush push in play. The Eagles are the only ones that are succeeding at it consistently. And Jalen Hurts can absolutely do this against the Dolphins defense. Hey, I did. Come on. I know. We'll get into the tush push debate later. Jalen Hurts can also score from anywhere on the field. That's what's great when you've got legs as a power in your passing game is, hey, let's not throw it. Let's run it. And you can score from anywhere on the field. I like where you're looking. Jalen Hurts, anytime touchdown. Where else can you look for that second leg?
If we're going to take away Jalen Hurts with the tush push, then we got to take away Steph Curry foul shots. Like, you can say that changing the rules on this.
Thank you.
All right. For my second play here, under 51.5, this is totally game flow strategy based. And the fact of the matter is the Eagles need to shrink this game down to keep the Miami Dolphins offense off the field. And they can do it because they possess the ball more than any team in the NFC. 57% of the possession goes their way in games this season. And when you look at the Miami run defense, they're not awful, but they're also not in the top half of the league. They're 20th in rushing defense. And I think what that means is that the Eagles offensive line, even with Lane Johnson sitting, PFF still ranks them as the 3rd best NFL offensive line this week. And with the Eagles playing keep away in week 2 against the Minnesota Vikings, they were able to possess it for nearly 40 minutes. They ran the ball nearly 50 times for 260 yards. I see a carbon copy of the game plan here to play keep away. And for that reason, I like under 51.5, which is the most square public over that you can have, because at any Dolphin game this year, just play the over. I like to go a little contrarian here and say that the Eagles are effective in their game plan, and we go under 51.5.
Mike, when I first heard you say it, I got a little skeptical, because my initial thought is, how can you bet against this Dolphins offense? How could you possibly look at an under? Then you do look at this Eagles team and what they can do in controlling time of possession. I do want to follow up real quick. When you're looking at this play, is this a bet also on the Eagles?
I do think that the Eagles, if they're effective in shrinking this game down, that they're a better play. At this point, when I look at their overall win record and where they're power rated, not just by the Action Network, by a lot of reputable power rankings around the country, they're always top 3, top 5. I think there's something slightly wrong with this team. So that's why I'm keeping my money on the sideline when it comes to the Eagles money line or spread in a game like this. But I do think they are going to be effective because this offensive line is just so dominant. And when you mix in Jalen Hurts being able to pick up those short yardage situations, it's a lot of running clock in this game.
It's dangerous. It's kind of fun. I don't hate where you're going. Under 51.5 as one of the options, or you can go with Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown. Tim, Brian, let's figure it out. The second leg in 3, 2, 1. Where are we headed? Don't jinx Jalen Hurts. Tim, that's not good. If Jalen Hurts gets hurts this weekend, we're all blaming Tim.
It's not a jinx. It's the name. Jalen stubs his toe, Hurts.
I don't know. It feels like a jinx to me. I do agree, though. Jalen Hurts anytime touchdowns, 5 rushing touchdowns this season. And look, I did like where you were going, Mike, with the under 51.5. I got burned last night. I took the under in that Saints-Jags game. It did not end well. So I think I'm a little bit too traumatized right now to go any unders anytime soon. Tim, going back to your fantastic drawing, that is, why did you like Jalen Hurts to get in the end zone over the under of 51.5?
It was more of my dislike for the underplay, and I love a good under. I'm a contrarian as well, but I think part of what has warped our sense of primetime unders and the way that unders have hit this season so far to start is we've rarely gotten 2 competent football teams on the same time, on the same field at the same time. I think both these teams, they do check that box of competency. And I also believe in there being the word out to the referees this week. Hey, let's keep those flags in our pockets, those holdings, those ineligible man downfield. This league is based on betting and fantasy. The NFL knows what butters their bread. They need points.
I like that angle, Tim. The NFL is watching Action Island and saying, hey, Jalen Hurts getting in the end zone, that might be a little bit more fun than the under 51.5, like where you're headed that way. Brian, why are you on Jalen Hurts over the under?
Yeah, I mean, this is probably the safest anytime touchdown bet in the entire NFL outside of Christian McCaffrey. It's true. Like, go back to last year. It's probably hit at the highest rate. So look, this is just a bet that you don't fade. I mean, I think everybody talks about the brotherly shove, right? And the tush push and how much, they dislike it and they want it out of the league. And it's like, I think Nick Sirianni takes that and he's like, yeah, I want to do it anytime we get close. Let's make sure, because other teams are trying to run it and they can't. It's not something where it's like every team has this inherent advantage. It's other teams aren't able to do it. So look, if they get inside, the 5, inside the 3-yard line, chances are it's going to be, some sort of a play, where Jalen Hurts is involved. I don't like, it's not that I don't like the under. I think there's a very, high possibility that it hits, but like Tim said, we've seen incompetency on both sides. And I think both of these defenses have the ability to get gashed. I mean, Adam Thielen just went for 100 and a touchdown. They've been, against the Dolphins, they've been getting beat by receivers all year. Eagles have too. So, and if it's one of these things where we're talking about the weather all week and then we get to game time and it's like they're throwing the ball 40 yards down the field without any effect. And we're all sitting there like, yep, we put too much stock in the weather. So look, Jalen Hurts, it's a, kind of bet it and forget it type thing for me.
Yeah, one of those just don't overthink it. Jalen Hurts to get it, brotherly shove, but also he really can get in from 15, 20 yards. It doesn't matter. That's what's so good about him. As much as this passing game has expanded, and we've seen that, like, he succeeds a lot as a passer, he still has the ability to run from anywhere on the field and will be used most likely on the goal line. Brian, we've got to keep this going. You're going to bring us our third leg. Just to recap, though, we are at Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown, Tyreek Hill over 6.5 receptions. How are we going to finish this thing off?
All right. So the reason that I lobbied for DeAndre Swift earlier is because Tyreek Hill is going to be the first option. Look, we want to talk about another bet that's hit at a high rate. I mean, this is hit in every game but one. Tyreek Hill, anytime touchdown. So the beauty in this is I think a lot of people, when you think Tyreek Hill, are thinking, 40, 50-yard bombs down the field. No, the Dolphins, when they're inside the 5-yard line, have shown in 4 different games that they will target him. So look, they use him as an extension of the run. And when you're looking at, this game, if he's going to see man coverage, it's just going to be lights out. There's not a player in the NFL that can cover him, man up. It just doesn't work that way. He's a little different. So, I think Tyreek Hill, anytime touchdown, don't want to overcomplicate it. Almost went Waddle because he's been playing very well. But look, I just love this spot for Tyreek Hill.
I do too. And as fun as Waddle is to bet on, Tyreek just feels like more of the lock here. He's been playing lights out. Yes. He has the most receiving touchdowns in the entire NFL. So it feels like that's a good look here. Tyreek Hill, anytime touchdown for the first option. What's the second option?
All right. So look, this is a guy that has done great for me this year. AJ Brown. Look, this guy has at least, I'm going to go AJ Brown over 82.5 receiving yards. So look, this guy in 4 straight games has at least 127 receiving yards. So it hasn't really mattered. He's accounted for nearly 45% of the Eagles, receiving yards. So look, it's clear he's on a roll right now. I really don't expect that in this scenario, he's going to be stopped. I just think there are so many ways where they get creative to get him the ball. So, he gets a lot of deep targets, but also he's a yak guy. So if they get him the ball on like a 2-3 yard route, or even a drag across the middle, like good luck tackling him with a full head of steam. It's not easy. So I just like him to keep it going. Again, kind of have to bank on the weather being a little overhyped here, at least for this one. So I like AJ Brown to keep the streak going. I'm asking for 82.5, which is a high number, but compared to what he's been doing and kind of the rapport he's got with Jalen Hurts, while we've seen Devontae Smith, struggle a little bit with some drops. So it just feels like a great spot here.
I'm with you, Brian. I kind of go both ways, though, because you look at his game log, his stats, he's had over 100 receiving yards the last 4 games. Yeah. So naturally, our mind starts to think like, is this going to be the game he takes a dip and we see Devontae Smith get involved better? But 82.5 still feels like a pretty good number there because what AJ Brown can do. He can get in these deep ball spots, but he also is fantastic at yards after the catch. As you mentioned, he's just hard to get down. AJ Brown, 82.5. It does feel like a really good number. All right, Mike, Tim, 2 options. AJ Brown over his receiving yards, or keep it simple. Tyreek Hill, anytime touchdown. Let's get to voting. Three, 2, 1. I'm a simple girl, so I'm sticking with Tyreek Hill, anytime touchdown. Let's see if we agree. And look at that. He will, Tim, he will what? Get a touchdown?
He will. Hill.
Oh, he will. Hill. It took me a sec. It's one of those days. It's Friday, but we're all on the same page.
I've drawn the hill before. Well,
wait, let me see. Did you show me the hill?
No,
you're just writing hill
in the past.
Oh, yeah. So you're getting
a little more creative. Yeah.
All right. I like it. I appreciate it. I feel like the Hill and the Jalen Hurts might have been a little bit better, though. Just saying. Okay. Tyreek Hill, anytime touchdown. This is a lock of all locks, most receiving touchdowns in the league. Tim, aside from your fantastic artwork, why did you choose Tyreek Hill over AJ Brown?
It was more that the Brown one scares me a little bit. And B-Matt, I'll give you credit because you were banging the drum on AJ Brown overs after the mini outburst that he had, the little kind of tantrum. Yeah. But so, over 127 in 4 straight games, I kind of think that could be the squeaky wheel effect. And how long does that last? So that's what took me off of that.
We're scared.
And again, I give you credit.
And normally you guys, and you know me, I normally take receivers on a rebound, but look, he's going the coverage. This is just a perfect matchup for him. Yes, I'm sure after saying this, Devontae Smith will have 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, and I can eat crow. But look, I normally love to take a guy off a stretch, but look, AJ Brown is just playing great football right now. It's one of the most effective parts of their offense. So yes, I'm sure they will try to get Dallas Goedert. I'm sure they will try to get Devontae Smith more involved, but AJB is just doing the job right now.
Fair
All right.
enough.
Well, I agree. I do think, and this is the fun part about Action Island. As we always say, you don't have to stick to these same three legs. Nick, last night, he cashed in on like plus 6,000 because he threw in Mike Thomas over Chris Olave. So do as you will. We just present the bets and you can make it how you want. Mike, why were you looking at Tyreek over AJ Brown?
I know I was just stumping for the under, but I can't get it out of my mind. First on Saturday, it's going to be Air Force versus Navy. And then on Sunday, it's going to be a similar situation where one team could have the ball for 10 minutes in the Eagles. And I see if they get the lead, my concern is that they don't need AJ Brown. Whereas with Tyreek, I love what Brian was saying in terms of him being an extension of the running game. They're going to be running into an Eagles defensive front that's going to be very difficult to move consistently in known running situations. That's why they're going to utilize Tyreek in, those kind of like those bubble screens and when they put him in motion. And for those reasons, that's just extra opportunities for him to pop a big play. So I'm with it on Tyreek here. It's nothing to do with Brown's matchup. It just has to do with the Eagles' preference in a game like this.
I'm with you. I really think that you can build this however you want, but at the end of the day, there's no way any of us are going to fade Tyreek Hill to get in the end zone. Let's recap what we got. And of course, I'll give you a bonus bet to make this parlay just a little bit more fun. We've got Tyreek Hill over 6.5 receptions. Tyreek Hill to get a 30 and Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown. Parlay that all together. You are at plus 369. Isn't that a song? On FanDuel Sportsbook. And then you can add in, if you want, Tua over 274.5 passing yards. That brings your odds up to plus 554 on FanDuel. This is just a fun way to kind of bet on this Dolphins offense. Because if you're looking at Tyreek Hill to go over on his receptions, if you're looking at Tyreek to get in the end zone, it's more likely than not that the Dolphins offense is going to be on fire like they always are. Guys, I feel like we've got a good one. Nick, Nick, Mike, Ryan, Tim, all the people who are out here at Action Island. It's a fun one. Sunday night football, Dolphins, Eagles. Good luck. We'll see you here next time on Action Island.